So last time in my honest opinions video, I talked about the Star Wars sequels and why despite their flaws, I still love them. But today we're talking about the prequels because I may have been sharing conflicting and confusing views on them. So in this video I will clarify. Are they good, are they bad, or are they somewhere in the middle? These are my completely honest thoughts, so don't get salty. I still love the prequels to death and I wouldn't want Star Wars without them. But putting that aside, let's just get into it. And remember, this is not a detailed critique of the prequels. It's going to be a very short video. It's just my opinions with a couple of arguments to back my claims, but if you want a fully dedicated video on the prequels, then let me know down in the comments. Anyways, let's just get into it. So to those of you who have been paying close attention to my videos will probably have realized that I don't think the prequels are all great movies. Overall, I think The Phantom Menace and Attack of the Clones are the movies with the lowest quality in the franchise, and I think Revenge of the Sith has been overhyped to a certain degree. We'll get into why these movies still succeed and why they're so loved in just a little bit, but let me just delve a little deeper into these possibly unpopular claims. Now when I say the lowest quality, I mean in terms of filmmaking quality in the technical sense. This being the character writing, the acting, the cinematography, the lighting, the effects, the pacing, the dialogue, and a lot more. Of course, not everything is bad in these movies, because otherwise I wouldn't like them. But we'll get to that. But basically, when I watch The Phantom Menace or The Attack of the Clones, I have a very hard time getting actually invested in the plot or in the characters. Each film has some emotional or epic moments like Qui-Gon showing his human side to Anakin, or the Darth Maul fight, or Obi-Wan in the second film, or Anakin's mom dying in his arms. These moments are good, but in between them, the movies just feel lifeless at times, especially The Phantom Menace. They both have the same flaws, but Attack the Clones at least has a lot of unintentional humor, which puts it ahead in my opinion. The dialogue and acting is of course atrocious at times, we all know that, and to some people this isn't that important, and that's fine. A movie doesn't need these qualities to be enjoyable, especially if you're watching these movies for the plot. However, I am the type of movie watcher that wants to get emotionally attached to the characters and engage with the stories on a personal level. Emotion in movies is everything to me, so that's one of the biggest reasons why I like the sequels more than the prequels. Not because the sequels are perfect or even close to being as resonant as, say, The Lord of the Rings, but they do place more emphasis on the characters and making them relatable than the prequels do, and I like that shit. However, that's not all. Some of the large-scale CGI in these movies actually looks decent, especially for their time. However, most of the settings and backgrounds during scenes are so lifeless and void of personal touch, and the lighting is uninspired. Everything either looks overly clean to the point of being unnatural or just looks boring with bland colors. Many of the scenes are just not shot with much care, which usually would be fine. I mean, a lot of movies aren't shot very well, but when the writing and the emotions aren't on point, it just adds up and gets a bit bland. Bland pile of worms. And the characters also just aren't written very well. Besides the occasional decent character like Anakin, Obi-Wan, Palpatine, and Qui-Gon, we have a bunch of characters without human traits, like Yoda, Mace Windu, actually all the Jedi to be honest. Even most of the characters I just mentioned before at some point have bad writing, like Obi-Wan in The Phantom Menace. And don't even get me started on the villains. The prequels just don't have very well written villains, but they have cool villains, and that's enough for some people, but not for me. Darth Maul is a flat character with only anger as a trait. Count Dooku has no motivation, so we don't care about him and his empathy. Grievous is just there so Obi-Wan can have a cool fight scene. Again, he's just not a character. Even Palpatine doesn't have any complex motivations, and therefore, despite being a decent character, he falls short as the antagonistic force in the trilogy. Now you may be wondering, with all this shit talking I've just been doing, how can I still like these movies? Well, except for the positives I mentioned before. What I truly love about the prequels is the story, and this is where Revenge of the Sith comes in. Now this movie is often ranked extremely high on people's lists, oftentimes it's even first, and while I do agree that it's definitely better than the previous two, it's still not a fantastic film. It still has most of the flaws that the other two movies have. For example, bad dialogue and acting, except for some moments like Anakin when he's not talking, or Obi-Wan at the end, but other than that it still has these problems. angles. It also just falls victim to lifeless backshots and scenery, with bad lighting and pacing that goes from 0 to 100 real quick. The characterization also just falls short on a lot of occasions. However, why is this movie better than the rest, you may ask? Well, because it also does some of these things right. This movie is very emotional if you're engaged in the story. Not the plot or the characters necessarily, but the story. Order 66 is a very well done sequence, and the music is just heartbreaking. And Anakin's turn to the dark side, although being slightly rushed, still feels satisfying and leads to one of the greatest lightsaber fights in the franchise. Overall, Revenge of the Sith is a decent film that, while doing some things poorly, tells an emotional story and ends off this trilogy perfectly. Because that's the thing. Although I don't think highly of these movies individually, the cohesive story that they tell together is worthy of praise in my opinion. This trilogy is the vision of George Lucas, an amazing and talented man who created a story that will never be forgotten. The creativity and attention to detail within the world building is incredible. It's very easy to see that George Lucas wanted to create an amazing adventure instead of good quality movies. That was his priority, and that's okay. It's why so many of us love them. I personally am not the biggest fan of this style of movie making. It just doesn't make me feel many emotions, but the downright epicness is enough to keep me entertained every single time I watch these movies. And that is why, despite all the problems I feel the prequel trilogy has, I still consider it one of my favorite movie trilogies of all time. I have more nostalgia towards the prequels than any of the other Star Wars trilogies, so yeah, my love for these movies has never wavered. But tell me, what do you guys think of the prequels? I'm sorry if I was a bit harsh, we're usually so positive here on the channel. I just wanted to not hold anything back and be completely honest with you guys. But if you want some more positive videos on the prequels, then the link to my Why It's Great playlist is down in the description. So yeah, watch those if this video left you a bit salty. Anyways, I hope you all enjoyed the video. As always, join my Discord server, it's great fun. But other than that, I hope you all have a wonderful day. Stay safe and peace out.